7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
And welcome to another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. We are back. It is week number 10 in the NFL, and I've got myself and the Tonys here with me. And gentlemen, Spike is MIA this week. He had to go off and get married some 15 years ago. So, he didn't really think how it would affect us down the line. It's incredibly rude. But we are here. It's myself and the Tonys, week 10 in the NFL, again, the Vegas Squares podcast. Sitting here in the virtual Zoom studio. And gentlemen, I don't know if you guys know this, you probably do, but after this week of picks, our contest becomes official.
Yeah, and that's really good news for me because I surpassed Spike. So.
Yes, you did. Oh my God! Now are we gonna have to hear it from you? You annoying.
No, I'm not gonna get cocky with it or anything until then. So.
Yeah, it looks like it's really become a two-horse race here. I hate to say it as well. That Aaron and I are basement dwellers, as you would
think. The weeks are starting to become more and more thin. Yeah.
Yes, most certainly.
I think the only play for us really at this point is like consecutive 5-0 weeks.
Yes.
And vice versa for the two of them.
I agree.
The Muppets over here.
Yeah,
but,
2 weeks like that. I mean, you're back in the race.
Yeah, I know, but we haven't really seen a week over 3-2. I don't think either one of us. So it's looking promising.
I could go 5-0 the next 2 weeks, and Token can go 0-5 for the next 2 weeks. I'd still be down 1.
That is not ideal.
No, yeah. It is not ideal. But just to recap the standings here before we get into Week 10 picks and talk about the sponsors here, Token has taken over sole possession of first place. He does have 26 points. Is in second now. One behind is Spike after a 1-4 week. He finally has a terrible week, and I feel like he just conveniently had a wedding anniversary to avoid the lashing that he was going to take this week. With 25 points is Spike. In third place, Tony Johnson with 19, and I am bringing up the rear with another 2-3 week at 15 points. It has just been tough. I mean, let's see, through 9 weeks, that's 15 wins, 30 losses for me. So if you're fading me, I hope maybe you'll throw me a tip because I am losing my ass. But if you're tailing Token, what is he? 26-19.
Very nice.
Yeah.
There you go, buddy.
Profitable on the year.
Yeah, that's true. I'm glad we're not doing some crazy ass money lines because that's where I'd be shooting for the moon here to attack
exactly.
you. So just be lucky. And in 2020, the season's been weird. Honestly, there hasn't been a lot of major crazy upsets. But there is one I wanted to talk about, especially since here we're recording on Friday the 13th, which ironically is the second Friday the 13th of 2020. Yeah. I don't know if you guys remember the first Friday the 13th was back in March when COVID-19 was declared.
It's my last day of work.
Yeah, that's right.
Harris.
Yeah, COVID-19 where Token just flamed out there in his recording. The last Friday the 13th is when COVID was declared a national emergency, and so who knows? Maybe this Friday the 13th, Tony, you and I'll go 5-0 this week.
Oh, that would be nice. I at least want one of us to get back in this thing and have a chance for the big comeback. But yes, I don't know.
I just want someone to go 0-5 just to be in the jar with me. You know?
Yeah, that's fair. That's
fair.
What
are we gonna do with $5?
I know that's weak. I agree.
But so, anyways,
have a chicken wing.
I wanted to talk about that upset. I don't know how many people would really clarify as an upset, but that Thursday night game, the Colts put a whooping on the Tennessee Titans, and I think a lot of people are starting to. I said this in the beginning of the season. I started to taper off on it, but I thought we would look for a regression from Tennessee. I thought Derrick Henry would run out of gas. Now he didn't. He still ran for 100 yards, Token, but a lot of people are questioning this Ryan Tannehill extension thing. Now I know it's easy to play. What have you done for me lately? But how are you feeling about this? Because Tennessee, the loss to the Bengals was a little bit of a black eye, but now the AFC South rival, the only two horses in that AFC South, and they took a real big hit by getting crushed by Indianapolis on Thursday.
Yeah. What really blew the game for them is special teams. I mean, the punter, he shanks one for 17 yards and then have the next one blocked for a return for a touchdown. That's 14 points pretty much gifted to the Colts.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, I look at the standings here, Tony, and both teams are now 6-3. Indianapolis obviously sits in first with the tiebreaker. So 9 games in, we got 7 games left. They play each other one more time. You talked about Tennessee. I can't remember. You picked Tennessee to win that division in our preview show, correct?
I did. Yes, correct.
Still want to stick with that, or how you feel?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. That was a very telling game, I thought last week. And to be honest with you, to kind of briefly go to what you two guys were just talking about, I really think that the last guy to blame here is Ryan Tannehill at this point. I actually think he's played extremely well. He made a great pass to A.J. Brown there. I think that was early in the second quarter. A guy in his face, 35-yard out down the sideline, put it right in his hands, and A.J. just dropped the ball. And they go up 14 there. If he catches and runs all the way to the end zone, I think that might have very well changed the game dynamic for sure. So, I'm not saying that's the one end-all be-all play. No, he dropped the ball. He lost the game. Certainly they deserve to lose, but I think Ryan's played really well. I just think the defensive losses, this year from the guys that they had last year, now going forward here, and then how badly Vic Beasley flamed out, and they ended up cutting him. I think 1 or 2 weeks ago. That's been that he was expected to be quite a nice addition from Atlanta, and that worked out really negatively. So I think that's been more so the issue than anything else. Haven't been able to stop the run this year nearly as well as they had in previous years. And again, I know it's not a sexy, fun thing to look at or talk about, but Indy's defense is really strong. They have a lot of great stoppers on the defensive line, and now with a finally fully healthy Darius Leonard, who not only I think in the physical sense is there, but from what we understand, at least in the locker room, and what he means as a person. On that defense, I think he goes a long way. So, yeah, you're right, Aaron. It's hard to take Tennessee now at this point after we see, watch that game and watch Indy's, defense more so than anything else, just sort of take over a contest like that. And to watch Phillip Rivers outplay, well, really anybody at this point is certainly saying something.
That's true. I still feel like there's that Phillip being Phillip. But I tell you what, the one thing I take away from this token, and we'll move on to the Week 10 here, the one thing I take away from this Tennessee defense is a lot of teams, Clowney sat on that market for a long time. A lot of people gave them shit for not, kicking the tires on Clowney. He's hurt now, but they're looking smart. Seattle's looking smart for not bringing him back, and a lot of teams are looking good for not giving this guy $20 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you put a lot of work into that line, and that's kind of what the result you get. No, it should be a little better than that. It's definitely banged up and can improve by the time the season ends, and whether they get they win the division or sneak in through wild card or something like that. But
yeah, don't discount the fact that Derrick Henry is still a beast right now. So. Mm-hmm. All right, so before we get into the Week 10 picks, we want to thank a couple of sponsors. Obviously, first and foremost, 12-Ounce Sports Network and Zingo TV. You can catch all of our shows and all the shows at 12ozsportsnetwork.com. While you're there, check out the 12-Ounce store where you can find this sweet World Hockey Report hat and everything else from golf polos, beach towels, coffee mugs, and much more. Zingo TV, where we're aired on Channel 761 every Wednesday afternoon and Saturday and Sunday for our NFL picks. Don't have a Zingo account? Please get a free one at when you download the app and put in the promo code 12OZ. And again, it's a free account. Obviously, our title sponsors, Vice Golf and Fanatics. Please use our promo code, promo affiliate links on lvsquares.com. Click the sponsors tab and click each of the individual photos to shop through those special affiliate links. It helps us. It doesn't cost you any more money. So we would greatly appreciate it if you could support us and support them so they can continue to support us. All right, let's move into the games here. Again, week number 10. After this week, it does become official. The Vegas Squares Pick'em contest is officially in the books. As if the season gets canceled, we got to pay someone. Probably not one of you or I, Mr. Johnson. But
yep.
Sure. All right, so we're going to look at the first game. Now, a funny thing I noticed that there are more late games than there are early games. We talked about this off the air. It's because of the Masters coverage on CBS. But the first game I'm looking here on the early slate actually is off the board. Again, remember, we do use the Westgate Superbook lines at the time of recording. I'm assuming this is because of the Matt Stafford question mark right now, but Washington and Detroit at the Westgate is off the board. It's 3.5 in other places that are labeled here on the Vegas Insider. I'll just say this. Obviously, because it's off the board at the Westgate, none of us are on this. We can touch on it briefly. I was actually interested in watching this game. It seemed a little more interesting than right off the bat first glance. The stat that jumped out to me, nothing's really positive about Washington's season other than the fact that somehow they're still in contention for the NFC East. But they are the best pass defense in the NFL. That was surprisingly shocking. The only thing I can think of is that they're always so far down, the other team's running the ball.
Oh, that definitely attributes to it. I mean, you got players against them trying to burn the clock and all that, trying to just move the chains through the ground, keep that clock ticking, keep the ball out of their offensive side, and keep their defense on the field, but through the run game attack.
I mean, with all due respect, they were in a game against Philadelphia. They weren't in a game against Arizona. They were in a little bit of a game against Cleveland, against Baltimore, and then the Giants twice, and then they were in a blowout game where they were the blowouters. I don't know if I say that. The blowies.
Wow. Nice.
Against Dallas. They've been in games. I mean, people just aren't passing against this team. My initial thoughts were, yeah, they're getting smoked, but I'm not thinking, even though they lost by 14 to the Ravens, I have to look at the stat sheet, but I don't think Lamar Jackson threw for that many yards against them. I mean, he didn't throw for that many yards against a lot of people, but it was just a surprising stat. So I don't want to touch too much on this game because obviously it's off the board and obviously none of us have it. But if I was laying something on that action with Stafford and Galladay playing, I'd probably lay Detroit at home.
Galladay's officially out on this game.
That makes it even worse.
Yeah. So
all right. So then we will officially start with Houston v. Cleveland in the Cleveland Browns arena, also known as Baker Mayfield's house. Baker Mayfield and the boys are 4-point favorites at home against the Texans and Deshaun Watson, who just got their second win of the year. It's quite unfortunate. I had high hopes for this team. J.J. Watt, I love J.J. Watt coming out and saying that he'd like to lend his services to a contender. That guy should be in the XFL at this point. The total on this game is 46. And I don't know. This was a tough one for me to kind of look at when we were picking games here. Obviously, Baker Mayfield has been playing well this year. This team has surprised me in spots where I thought we'd have a little bit of a choke job, as you like to speak, or as Token likes to say, the Brown's going to brown all over you, as he likes to say. But Baker's been playing well, and he also gets Nick Chubb. And they're coming off a bye. Again, the line's -4, Token.
This was actually my first game out. I wrote down 6 games, and I decided to leave this one out. So this will probably be a winner. So I'll just go ahead flat out and say it just because it's not in our contest. I liked Cleveland in the spot. Just something about it. Cleveland off their bye and all. Everything just sounds right for them, even with Odell. Just Houston, you can't rely on Houston to put up even points. So,
yeah, no, it looks like it's going to be the Wind in Cleveland 2.0 this week from a couple of weeks back when Las Vegas visited and the winds gusted up to about 40 miles an hour. We're going to see basically the exact same thing this week, from what I understand. Gusts actually up into the 50-mile-an-hour range potentially on game day, and a little bit chillier this week as well, probably the high of about 50 degrees. I think this game's going to be really, really ugly, just like that one was for the most part. This is one of the games I already bet, but can't really play it for our contest. I bet it at under 51.5, and obviously we know it's moved down quite a bit now, so no, not really much you can do here. I don't have a feel on the side at all, especially as these games, if the wind is really that crazy and, you can't throw the ball at all. I know Derek Carr mentioned it. He knew after the first throw that he made from scrimmage on that day, he's like, so we're not going to be able to run basically 3/4 of the playbook passing wise. I mean, he said that after the game, and it was kind of an amazing thing to hear, from an actual professional quality NFL quarterback to just know that it was dead right away. So, I think with that thrown kind of a wrench into the game, just sort of tough to be able to pick a side here, but certainly you guys make good points here. It is hard to back Houston at this point. Whether they are, winning games or not, even the games they're winning, they're barely hanging on. They're letting teams come back. They can't close them out. It's just not a team you want to be backing on a weekly basis. So I guess, in that sense, I certainly would lean Cleveland here, but I've already bet the under, but just the number's just too low right now.
All right, let's move on to Green Bay hosting Jacksonville. At this point, we have the biggest spread on the card. Green Bay, a 13.5-point favorite at Lambeau, where it's going to be cold, taking on a Jacksonville team that, again, Houston got that win against them, but they gave them a run for their money. It ended up being like a 2 or 3 point game. Aaron Rodgers, coming off that Thursday performance, basically dismantled what's left of the 49ers team. But still, a win's a win. I'm still a little salty on that one because I lost the under with 4 seconds left in that game on a meaningless touchdown. So that one's just, that punches you right in the nuts. All right, so we've got Jake Luton back under center. Didn't look terrible. Again, Houston's defense, take it for what you will. I don't think Green Bay's defense is that much better, but I will say this. I'll tell you who is that much better is Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, who last week had 10 for 173 and a touchdown. Now that he's back and fully healthy, this offense, if they can get Aaron Jones running, it looks like they could be unstoppable again on their way to another NFC title game appearance or possibly better. They're 6-2 right now. This seems like a game I don't want them to overlook, but my feelings, Token, about the biggest spread of the week.
You take the dog typically, so that's all I'm going to say about that.
Total's 49, by the way.
Yeah. This one, it does seem interesting. It's going to be interesting how the cold weather, as well as you said, what the wind's going to be a little influence, but not as much as like the Houston-Cleveland one, right?
No, but up there. I think they say 25-mile-an-hour plus, so yeah, it could be big.
I could see Rodgers still performing pretty well in that. He's a little more used to it than like Baker or Deshaun Watson in those kind of extreme conditions. I think Adams has another fantastic day. Maybe not quite as good as 173, but he might crack the century pretty easily. So,
Token, is he the best receiver in the NFL right now?
No.
Okay. Care to rebut?
I would say he's within the top 3, but he's just outside the top 1. I kind of like DK Metcalf. So that's my favorite wide receiver currently, and that.
I didn't ask for your favorite.
I know. In terms of best, I would consider him a little better than Adams right now.
Wow, it's not horribly off pace, but I have to disagree with you on that one. Tony, what do you think?
I love the answer. On a side note, I think he is a very, very underrated receiver at this point. I think DK could be one of the greats of our generation if he continues on the ascent that he's at. So I don't know. I really like the answer by Token there.
That's fair. I mean, he had a conviction. He stuck to it.
Absolutely.
I don't disagree that DK Metcalf is one of the top 5-10 wide receivers. I just don't know. I just don't know if the seasoning's there. Let's see him in a big game.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, it's a very interesting question. Yeah,
I mean, let's see him in a big playoff game.
I know.
There you go. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Who would I choose? I mean, it's a very loaded question. I still, again, taking away some of the off the field stuff, and I know it's more just recent than anything else. I would still put Michael Thomas as my number one guy. And I know that skill-wise, or at least raw, running ability and talent, he's not even close to some of these guys. I just think with the way he runs routes and how great his hands are, the lack of drops. I mean, the guy never puts the ball on the ground. And he's always where he should be, finds holes in the defense. He's great in, against a zone, better than almost anybody else. Most of the great receivers are, best in, man-to-man coverage and beating a guy one-on-one. He's actually excellent against zone defenses. So, yeah, I mean, that's who I would go with, would be Michael Thomas. But I think it's all very close. And, the skill set with all these guys is very different. Other underrated people I think are really good. Calvin Ridley is unbelievably good, playing sort of in the shadow still of Julio Jones. And then in my opinion, the rookie of the year, the guy that I would pick, or at least the offensive player, and I think is unquestionably the best receiver on Minnesota right now, is Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
He's unbelievably good. Wow, is he good? Again, no disrespect to Adam Thielen. I know they kind of play different positions. Nothing against Adam Thielen, but this Jefferson guy, he's barely used. He's playing like 60% of the snaps, getting 3 or 4 targets a game, and averaging 24 a reception. He's phenomenal.
That's fair. I think for my money, they do very different things, so I'll classify them as 1A and 1B. I think for my money, I like Devontae Adams, but I think DeAndre Hopkins and Tyreek Hill are the 2 best receivers in the league.
Yeah,
all right, so
answers. Yeah, those are good. I mean, there's so many good answers, I think. Yeah.
Your thoughts on this Jags-Packers game?
Yeah, no, I think Tokens, really said it best here, that this is one of those games where, yeah, the heavy wind factor and maybe unfortunate weather, especially on grass, which tends to be a little bit more difficult if you have wet and frozen turf. Footing is a little bit worse on grass than it is on the quality artificial turf they use now, but I still think that Aaron Rodgers, with a lot of experience, in this type of weather, in these type of games, Jacksonville clearly not playing for really anything, anymore at this point. And while, yeah, you're hoping, and you said it, really well too, Aaron, that, you don't want them to be looking past a team like Jacksonville, assuming they aren't and they're on point. This really should be one-way traffic here. So I actually, honestly, really considered the minus 13.5. Really did. This was one of my last ones out, probably. I don't like to lay big chalk. For the most part, as you know. But, the last thing I thought about, though, is that the really weak Green Bay defensive line and, how many yards they give up in chunks on the ground. And it was a little worrisome, I'm not going to lie to you, especially if the game goes in a slug-it-out fest that it might go. In fact, if the weather was perfect, I actually think I might lay the 13.5. Maybe the line would be higher. I don't know. But it's interesting. It's really interesting. But I'd only play this one way here if I had to, and that would be laying the points with Green Bay.
All right, Philadelphia and New York. This would be a classic example of a spike thank you next kind of game, but we're going to try to see if we can squeeze some kind of information out of this.
It's a big divisional game.
The
right?
Philadelphia versus
really
New York Giants, sponsored by Lysol Toilet Bowl Cleaner. Philadelphia carries on the road a 4-point favorite. The total is 44.5. I've been reading a little bit about this game. Unsurprisingly, it's been nothing but disappointed words from a lot of the people who cover gambling and sports betting. Daniel Jones, yes, he had his first turnover-free game of his career last week, excuse me.
Isn't that amazing? That was an amazing stat when I saw that too. I couldn't believe that. That was incredible.
His first game was 0 turnovers. I was looking at this situation. I know that Philadelphia has a 1.5 game lead over Washington, Washington, and obviously effectively a 2-game lead over Dallas and the Giants. But Doug Peterson came out and said this game right here is a must-win, and that basically would get them to 4-4-1. Because let me read you the rest of Philadelphia's schedule.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that they're a lock to win the NFC East. So let's say they beat the Giants. They're 4-4-1. They go to Cleveland. They're home versus Seattle. They go to Lambeau. They're home versus the Saints. They go to Arizona. That's 5 games where they could literally be 4-9-1. Mm-hmm. And then finish with Dallas and Washington. So 6-9-1 could be your NFC East champions here. So it's crazy to think. Now, if they don't beat the Giants, then you're looking at maybe 5-10-1, and I don't know. I mean, again, I'll read it off to you again. Washington 2-6, Dallas 2-7, and New York 2-7.
5-10-1 still might win that division.
I want to do a little side prop bet for $5 between us. Token and Tony, name the record that wins this division.
Wow. Okay.
I'll let Tony Johnson go first, and
Sure.
you have to pick a different record if that guy takes yours. And Token, I'll go last.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. I have some reasoning for this one. I think it's going to be a little bit better than we're making it out to be. So I will go with 8-7-1 with Philly taking the division.
Wow.
Okay. I was between two numbers. You didn't say either, so I got the option of those. I am going to say 6-9-1.
All right. And who wins it? Philly?
Philly, yeah. Yeah, with the tie. Unless if this game ends in a tie and they have two.
Well, 2 ties is basically a win, so that's good for them. I will say I'm going to take the winning team record 7-9, no ties, the Washington football team.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
All
I
right.
like it.
That is good. I like that pick. That's a fun pick.
I see on the Washington schedule, I see about 6 50-50 games with Alex Smith if he stays the quarterback.
He played
Okay.
well last week. I was actually impressed with how well he played. Yeah, no, that's something for sure.
Yeah, I see the Pittsburgh game as a loss. I see the Seattle game as a loss. And I think they lose either one of the Bengals or Panthers.
I like how Philly's getting healthy. They're getting really, really, really healthy right now. I think they're going to win some of those tougher games over the next 5 or 6.
All right, we'll have to capture this. So, all right, any thoughts on Philly versus the Giants, Token?
Tough game for Philly because their schedule gets even worse after this. Hopefully they create some turnovers from Daniel Jones.
They got to do.
Yeah, this is the proudest bet I've made this week. I've only made 3 bets so far, and this was one of them. So I'm on the Philly side here. I did not take them for the contest, so I'm feeling openly talking about it. So I bet Philly -3, -120 a couple days ago, and I know it's moved up to about 4 now. I didn't want to lay 4.5 for the contest. Maybe that's part of the reason why I suck at this, because I should just go with what I think and just screw the numbers. But yeah, I didn't. I just felt 1.5 was too much of a difference. I don't know. I like the setup here for Philly. Yeah, as you said, I don't really like the next 5 games after this, but I do like the setup for this one. I just think they're a much better team overall when fully healthy. Obviously, in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, Philly was really beaten. I'm not saying that they played the great football anyway. They could have done better, but certainly it was one of the most injured teams in the NFL. And I think they're getting back 9 guys that they didn't have from 2 weeks ago before the bye, including 2 important offensive linemen like Lane Johnson and almost all the receiving core and of the like. I think it's going to be a team that plays together here. If they didn't have this bye and everybody was together, I wouldn't be as confident, but I think they're going to play well this week.
All right, Tampa Bay traveling to Carolina, fresh off that ass whooping by the Saints on Sunday Night Football. The whole world saw Tom Brady get beat by 5 touchdowns. The biggest lopsided loss in a game started by Tom Brady in 21 seasons in the NFL. And, I guess they can rest their head easy at night. They're still 6-3. They get to face a team in Carolina that got Christian McCaffrey back for 1 whole week, and now he's out again. So I'm sure number 1 pick guys in fantasy are still kicking themselves. I actually picked him in 2 fantasy leagues and traded him after he got hurt. So
interesting.
I'm able to salvage some of those seasons so far, but that's not what we came here to talk about. The line is 6. Tampa Bay on the road is a 6-point favorite. Total 50.5. Again, I'll reiterate, we do pick these games based on the Westgate Sportsbook line at the time of recording. Tampa Bay -6 token, 50.5. Teddy Bridgewater without his speedy white guy running back.
Yeah, but you still have Mike Davis, and Mike Davis might be good enough to keep this game interesting. It's no kiss Christian McCaffrey, but he's definitely a good 1B option. So I'd be happy if he was on the lines, to be honest.
It's crazy how, we talked about this. I've talked about this in some spots. I thought they might shut Christian McCaffrey down if they were really so far out of it. And I know they're 3-6, but it was amazing against Kansas. I mean, they needed everything. They had to throw everything in the kitchen sink at Kansas City. It was amazing how after 6 weeks, Christian McCaffrey comes back in and they literally, they feed him 30-something targets and touches. I mean, they rely so much on that guy, and it's not a bad thing to do, but eventually you're just going to break the tires and the axles off this guy.
Exactly, and it's going to be set up for failure. The more rest for him right now is the better for longevity for him and this Carolina team. Once they start abusing him and putting him in more frequently this season, it's going to be case for disaster and long-term effects for his running game and his body. So, and the question is, what Tampa Bay team will show up this week? The one that faced the Saints, or the one that's pretty damn good and can beat the shit out of people? So,
Well, the Saints and the Panthers are very different teams, and
yeah.
Tony, I think if the Panthers lose and go to 3-7, we're done seeing Christian McCaffrey for the rest of the year.
Well, I don't know if I'd bet on that. I think this Carolina team.
What's the point?
Matt Rule is a bit of a different guy than kind of everybody else, and I think we saw a little bit of this last week against Kansas City, where they got down 11 or 12 points in that game in the third quarter, and a lot of teams I think would have packed it in. They just punted again to Kansas City, and you can go down 3 scores now, and it's just the game should be the way it should go, and the better team will just run you over. And it was the exact opposite of that. They got down as much as they got down in that game. They fought. Everybody fought, and they've done this in every single game this season. No matter where they're at, what the score is, these guys fight, and that's there are a lot of people that question whether Matt Rule was the right guy for this type of team. People question it at Baylor too, because maybe he is not the most exciting pick or the most exciting guy you can have, but he gets the guys play. They play hard. They play 100%. I've seen it now. This is the third team, and I don't know. I don't know what David Tepper's idea is for this organization or what his goals and aspirations are. But I can tell you one thing: if Matt Rule has any sort of part in that decision process, they're going to try to win every single game. And whoever's healthy will play. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Again, I'm not trying. That's a debate that certainly can be had. But I think he'll play if he's healthy. Maybe if you shut him down in week 17 or something like that, with 1 week to go, that could be something. But we're still sort of in the season. It's a tough spot here. Tampa Bay, is in kind of a situation where teams that are this good at least have a over 600 win percentage, and they lose by more than 2 touchdowns. Cover the spread like 80% of the time the next week. It's happened I think 40 times in the last 25 years in the NFL, and they cover very, very often the next week. So that. With that said, I just don't want to be betting. This is a bad spot. It's a bad situation against a team like Carolina that never gives in. So I'm avoiding that game just for this entire purpose. Have another play here for a contest on it. But yeah, in regards to side, I couldn't find one here.
Well, 2 quick notes to basically piggyback on what you just said. Week 1, Tampa Bay got beat by New Orleans pretty handedly, came back and destroyed Carolina. So there's evidence to show that stat you just provided for us, that trend. But Carolina, on their recent 4-game losing streak, has lost all 4 games by an average margin of defeat of 5 points. So, I don't know. Take that what you will. You're right. The Matt Rule effect. They are in games. I have to give you props, though. I mean, you were all in on a potential Carolina victory last week against Kansas City, and they gave them a run for their money.
I had a shot at it. That if they made that random field goal at the end, that would have been kind of fun. But yeah,
fair.
Oh man, but no, it's fun. It's a good game. I think it'll be a really fun game to watch. I'm actually looking forward to it. I really am.
Fair enough. All right, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh to start off the late slate here. Pittsburgh 7.5-point favorites at home against Cincinnati. Total 47.5. The big news. Basically, Ben Roethlisberger hasn't practiced, I guess, this week because of the COVID contact tracing policies. I don't know. I'm not going to go down a hole I don't know a lot about. But he's basically has to pass the COVID protocols, even though he never actually formally tested positive for the virus. But they've got Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 2-5-1. Who coming in, who everybody loves the way Joe Burrow plays, hasn't really translated into wins quite yet, except for the big one against Tennessee. If Roethlisberger somehow doesn't go, I think we all agree that he's probably going to play. Then we get Mason Rudolph, and that line's probably going to shoot to the moon, down back towards Cincinnati, down back towards the 0. But as of right now, we're handicapping it at 7.5 with the intention that Roethlisberger lines up under center.
Yeah, even if he does line up under center without practicing, you saw what happened to Stafford. But that is Stafford compared to Ben. What happened to Stafford last week, and he looked like dog shit, but that's almost every week that he's out there. So. Not to dog on Stafford, but
No.
So somehow by previewing the Bengals in Pittsburgh, we got Matt Stafford into the mix.
I mean,
all we need is a tip of the cap to Abraham Answer, and it completes the trifecta.
Schwartzel. No, yeah, I think just getting the game plan ready and all that without him actually practicing on the field, you lose some of that connection and some of that speed and stuff like that they practice against their own defense and all that. So it's going to be interesting this one, whether Ben does play or Rudolph does. So.
Yeah, I'll be quick here, a little bit a la Spike. I just thought there were too many variables in this game and really a lot of unknown. We're also going to get a little bit of wind here in this one as well, which I thought, just was another wrench into the equation. And I looked at it for very briefly and just couldn't really come up with much. Obviously, we just kind of got a line back on this game and, who knows who'll be playing. So I decided to pass it very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, who in their right mind would really want to be holding a 7.5 ticket with Ben Roethlisberger under center? Like,
true.
No one would ever want to be sitting on that, especially with having to trust Mason Rudolph to win by over a touchdown. That can't feel good.
No.
All right, Denver at Las Vegas. The Raiders taking on the Broncos. Denver walked into Atlanta last week. It was close, the score was, but they really didn't put up too much of a fight there. Drew Lock doesn't seem to be progressing. He actually reminds me a lot of Jameis Winston, minus the mass quantity of interceptions. He just doesn't look like he really knows what he's doing out there half the time. And I have to give you credit, Tony. You've kind of called that for 2 seasons now. Walking into the Death Star here in Las Vegas. The Raiders are a 3.5-point favorite. The total is 50.5 right here in this spot. Something about these Denver Broncos, they're scrappy, but they're starting to get that Jay Cutler vibe from me. When I'm on them, they shit the bed, and when I'm against them, they decide to have a pulse. I don't get it.
I was just watching Token and the drink interchange there. Was very entertaining.
I needed a refill before we got to this game.
That's good. Good thing your nurse is on staff.
Yeah, it is the Raiders. It's a divisional game for them. It should be tight. It really depends how he performs and all that. Vegas, without the fans and all that.
I tell you what, I talk about a guy, Tony, who's had like the worst string of health luck. Trent Brown, my God.
Yes.
That guy is just –
good point.
He needs a rabbit's foot or something.
Yes, yeah, it does. It seems like there are just sometimes guys that come in and really just can't stay healthy in any regard, and at a variety of positions. Sometimes the position doesn't even really matter. And yeah, as you said, it really is unfortunate for Trent. I agree, but my take is almost identical to Token's here. I do think that a lot of this does lie in the fact that Las Vegas, we never really know what we're going to get. They can play so well and up to everybody, and then they just play down, and they can't throttle a bad team to save their life. And everyone talks about the win at Cleveland, or at least I heard that a couple of different times last week from some people that I happen to be sitting around. And I just, that game with all the wind and weirdness, whatever, I don't know how you could put a whole lot of stock into that one. Yeah, they won the game, and that's fine, but and even so, what are we talking about? A Cleveland team that again does the same thing, that plays up and down, on a bi-weekly basis. I don't know. I don't know what to get from this team, and I don't really want to be backing Denver all that often, although I did last week, and I deserve what I got there for sure. So because they were clearly, as you said, Aaron, it was kind of close by the score, but they were not in that ball game. So yeah, I just certainly passed in this one because I don't know what to do with these two teams. That it just seems like they're very hard to predict on a week-by-week basis.
Well, I'll tell you what. Stick around. If I'm foreshadowing anything, I'm sticking the needle right back into my arm this week. So
okay, good. All right.
Tell you what,
deeper and harder.
I'll give Tony Johnson a little opportunity to gloat here. We all kind of shit on Derek Carr at the beginning of the season, and you were in his camp, in his corner. It seems like he's getting overlooked this year, though. I mean, obviously you have Mahomes in the division and all the talk of Justin Herbert. But here's a chance. I mean, Derek Carr's 5th in the league in passer rating, and that's a stat that really, looks good for quarterbacks. He's behind Rodgers, Wilson, Mahomes, and Brees. It's good company to be in. I mean, I was not high on him this year. I didn't think he'd even make it to Las Vegas.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, he's playing a little better than even I thought. I think a little bit of that, to be honest with you, has to do with maybe the lack of production from Josh Jacobs. You know, we haven't seen him, have nearly as many games where he's been as dominant, and I think Derek has had to do more because of that. So I think if we actually asked him if he was on this podcast, I think he would probably want to even do less. He'd want to have less, stats there, because I think the more that Jacobs runs, I think the better off really this team is, not just the offense, but I think the overall team is, because they get to hold the ball even more and still score so many points. So I think it's partially to that, but yeah, they're scary. They're scary on offense at times. It's just, you don't know what you're going to get on defense, and they just play down to everybody. It's a very frustrating team to watch. It really is.
All right, Buffalo and Arizona. I think this one, to me, is one of the most intriguing games of the week. Arizona, a 2.5-point favorite, total big number, 56.5 here. Arizona coming off the loss to Miami. Some would obviously call that a bit of an upset. And Buffalo coming off a big win against Seattle, now having to travel east to west to play a mad Arizona team. It's real hard. It's Josh Allen. You want to talk about guys playing down? I mean, Josh Allen has been such a roller coaster this year. Last week, he 415 and 3 touchdowns, ran for another score. This is a team that's so hard to bet as well, because you know what you should get. It's just not always what you do get. I had a hard time handicapping this one. I decided to stay away from this one, but I was leaning a little toward the home team after a kind of slap in the face upset against Miami last week.
And that's exactly how I felt on this one. I think Buffalo might be a little overvalued coming in this one, kind of dominating Seattle. Arizona upset by Miami last week. They're out for vengeance. So it just seems like if you have to be on side, that's the safer play to take. And thoughts on this total? This total could easily go over as well. So.
Yeah, I had a feeling of on which side you'd be on this one, Token.
I don't have a play on it. But.
Okay. I thought we might be on opposite sides. So I'll be careful here and not reveal the pick certainly. But I had a little bit of fun with this game. I'm not going to lie. It just sort of happened with the way the numbers presented themselves to me. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think some of this recency, though, with these two teams, I thought played into the total a little bit. So we just saw Buffalo playing an absolute shootout with Seattle. It was up and down the field. I know Josh Allen was in a bit of a death game, too, with his grandmother passing, and he, kind of dedicating the game to her. And basically he threw for 400 yards in about 2.5 quarters. So that was kind of something. Arizona, again, went up and down the field for the majority of that game as well, and did against Seattle, too, in their game in previous weeks. I think these two Seattle games and some of the spots that these teams have already played in have played into this total a little bit more. I actually think both of these defenses are a little bit better than they look. Maybe not necessarily Buffalo as much, but definitely Arizona. So, and Arizona's played a tough schedule so far overall, especially being in that division that they're in. So, I really think that we might get a little bit of sitting on the ball in certain times, especially from Buffalo. I don't think that Buffalo is going to be very keen to be wanting to play nearly as fast as they did last week, just because we've seen what happens when Kyler Murray has the ball and is able to run 80, 85 plays. In fact, I think Arizona is like 9-0 against the number if they run more than 80 plays on offense. It's a pretty crazy statistic since he started in the league. So that's kind of where I'm at here. But, tough game. Two teams on the rise, certainly. Two teams that I thought, especially what we saw earlier in the season, and I certainly didn't think Arizona would be where they are at this point now. I think they've played a little bit better in the last 3 or 4 weeks than we certainly saw in the earlier part of the time. So yeah, I mean, Buffalo looks like they got over their rough patch that they had in the middle of the season, and should be a good one here.
All right. Aforementioned Seattle travels to LA to take on the Rams. And Jared Goff and the boys are a 2.5-point favorite. Total 54.5 in this one. I tell you what, I am not loving Seattle right now. I know they're getting some guys back. Jamal Adams is getting healthy. They got Carlos Dunlap. I kind of hyped that situation up regarding those guys last week. just no running game. The offensive line, Russell Wilson is second in the league in sacks taken. I'm just thinking this is a recipe for disaster right now. And although I know this is a bit more broad than just this game, but I think they'll still make the playoffs, but they are in some deep shit.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that loss last week to Buffalo made them seem kind of vulnerable. If you know they're going to attack for the pass because they have no run game, you make them one-sided. You almost want to make them want to run, and they can't do it. So,
which is surprising because Carlos Hyde's not a slouch. He's not a great running back,
yeah.
but he had a 1,000-yard season last year.
It's that offensive line. It's probably the worst offensive line in football right now.
Which is crazy because I feel like they've been a terrible offensive line for the better part of 7 or 8 years now. They just do nothing to build it. They have Dwayne Brown, who they fleeced from the Texans, and then that's about it.
Yeah, for sure. This is also just a historically bad pass defense. At this rate, I believe they'll have the worst pass defense in NFL history. Seattle, it's pretty remarkable how many games they have won, and it speaks to what we talked about, I think, a week or two ago about how good Russell Wilson has been. And yeah, I'm incredibly impressed week in and week out. Yeah, I know they got behind in that last game, but and he turned the ball over. But still, it's they're never out of games. They're never out of games with him at the helm. And the Rams also been so good on one side of the ball versus the other. Again, the Rams on defense have been fantastic, maybe the best defense in the NFL. But you never know what you're going to get, especially with Jared Goff at the helm, and he's a really, really uncomfortable guy to watch. He has done a lot better against subpar defenses over the last 2 seasons than versus some of the higher quality defenses. So that is something that there is to note there. But again, I think this line is really just too close and very, very unpredictable here. I decided to just sort of stay away from this one.
And it's crazy. We talked about Dwayne Brown. I'm looking at the Seahawks salary, the different salaries on the team. And, we always talk about the quarterbacks. I think the top 4 guys effectively, and maybe you can throw KJ Wright in there with his $10 million cap hit. But, you got Russell Wilson, Bobby Wagner, Dwayne Brown, Tyler Lockett, KJ Wright. Totally worth the value that they're being paid. But you got other guys here. Greg Olsen making $6 million. What?
Yeah.
Why?
Bad contract.
True.
You got a defensive tackle in Jarrett Reed. I don't even know who that is. He's fucking making $10 million. What is going on? Jamal Adams, who you could effectively say is probably the next best player, is only making $3.5 million. So it just, you're paying Jacob Hollister $3 million to be a backup tight end, and you're paying your starting tight end $6 million. You're just spending money in all the wrong spots, in my opinion. So it's not even a case of, Russell Wilson takes up too much of the salary cap. You're paying out dumb contracts. So I don't know. I don't love the thought of how they build this team, but they're smarter than I guess. So let's move forward to the San Francisco and New Orleans game. New Orleans at the Westgate is a 9.5-point favorite against San Francisco. Last couple of years, this game's been one of the, most talked about on the schedule. Probably not so much this year. Total 49 in this spot. You got Drew Brees versus, Nick Mullins, I think, is the quarterback there for the 49ers at this point. Not really seeing a lot going on. No Garoppolo, no George Kittle, no Raheem Mostert. It's just a ton of nothing there left in San Francisco. But these are the kind of spots where you just think, Drew Brees will run over them, and maybe not.
Yeah, it is a possibility. The San Francisco's defense isn't as bad maybe as we're making it out to be with all their injuries and all that, but it's not like it was last year. Same with that offense. Moser, you got Kittle out, you got Garoppolo out. Mullins, he's not the leadership like Garoppolo, and even in my opinion, Garoppolo's overrated, but he's much further of a step than it would be from the starting quarterback to the backup.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. It's New Orleans is an interesting team as well because we're seeing. I kind of made a little bit of a similar comparison. I don't. It's not a fair comparison because New Orleans is a much better team overall. But I think Philly getting everybody back, especially we saw what happened with New Orleans, sort of getting everybody back on both sides of the ball and being the healthiest they've been all year long. And what they're capable of, and that really throttling against Tampa Bay last week, was really eye-opening. Now, the problem with that is that sometimes we do see that significant regression after you beat a very high quality team, by a lot of points, and now you're playing. Yeah, well, it's still a conference opponent and a team that went to the Super Bowl last year. It's not the same team, and everybody knows that this is San Fran that is really not in full competition right now. That they are just playing games out, I think, at this point, but. Where's the motivation level going to be? Are they going to be able to play as well as they did last week? And that's the tough point here because you have to lay, 9.5, 10 points. And to me, it's just too much. But Token's point of, Nick Mullins, do you want to be able to back Nick Mullins against a very high quality team? No, I don't want to do that. Even getting 9.5, I just don't think that's the right spot here. So I looked long and hard at this game. I really did. I think I'm going to have some player props for sure on this one, but for overall in the game-wise and for our contest, I'm going to have to pass.
All right, Baltimore at New England. Another game that, in years past was real hyped up. But this year, so I was listening to the radio, actually, and then I ended up reading this article. I guess a reporter kind of took a pot shot at Bill Belichick and his draft history. And Bill Belichick did not take too kindly to the quote-unquote question that was asked. And I thought Bill Belichick may have approached it the wrong way. To paraphrase what he said, basically, he's like, no one really had an issue with the way I drafted for 20 years. And, we put the best guys out on the field. We draft the best guys we think. And he kind of really didn't answer the question, but at the same time, really didn't address that some of his drafts haven't been the greatest. When all he really had to do was just go scoreboard. All he had to do was say, kiss the rings and eat my shorts, basically. I mean, that guy could do that for the next 20 years, and you got no rebuttal to that. So anyways, Baltimore and New England. Baltimore, 7-point road favorite here, total 43.5. Really telling me that they're expecting Baltimore to walk in there and just run a train on Cam Newton and the Patriots here at this point. Cam Newton's throwing a lot of balls to the other team. If Spike were here, I'm sure he'd be befuddled because at 3-5, they're not competing for playoffs and they're not competing for the number 1 pick. They're just in this weird, purgatory of strangeness while Belichick and Brady take little pot shots at each other. It's a weird time to be a New England Patriots fan. Nothing really seems right. The world seems upside down. And Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, walk in with that high-flying offense, and you just wonder if that defense, what's left of it, can really stop it.
Yeah. You wonder how much you're going to get blown out by. I mean, Baltimore, besides the spread, they cover games on top of that, traditionally 6.5 points or something per game.
When's the last time you said that, though? In my life, Tom Brady has been in the league since I was 12 years old. When's the last time, and again, obviously it hasn't all been with New England. He's got 9 games under his belt with Tampa. But when's the last time you said, some Team X is going to walk into New England and boat race them? I mean, you never said that.
Week 17, maybe?
Not even. I mean, even when Garoppolo and Brian Hoyer and Matt Castle played, you were never getting boat raced. You were never boat racing New England.
Exactly. It'd still be a close game and all that. Even with those other named quarterbacks and all that. I mean, it's always a divisional game, Week 17. So even if you're not going to put Brady in because the division's already a wrap.
Oh man, I just realized that's the Sunday night game. We got a game between that too. But we'll finish this game. We'll go backwards.
Okay. Yeah, and it's just going to be interesting how much Baltimore can get through the New England defense in this one.
Yeah, this is sort of the last great hope here, I think, that New England has. They also have a relatively favorable setup, in regards to schedule. And if they can somehow get through this game, and I don't think they're looking past this or trying to be, playing that game, or if they are, they really are probably going to get boat raced. But it's actually relatively favorable after that. They do have another game against the Jets. I think they have, Miami, who's improved, but they have the Chargers. They have I can't really remember some of the other ones, but there's no great teams that they have to really necessarily face. And, it's still, I think that they're holding out hope. I would say that while you and I and everybody, we're all kind of thinking that this is just kind of a lost season. I would guess that that is not being talked about or not being said, or that's not the thought process at all in New England. No, but I think some teams that it is. I really think that some teams have kind of given it. I would guess if we asked the average Jacksonville Jaguar, they would say that, this season's sort of lost, it's done, whatever. I honestly don't think they believe that. I really don't. I thought – we could. I was actually hoping Spike would be here because I know he likes to give a lot of crap to the offensive play calling and such like that. I actually thought the play calling and the offense was fantastic last week. I thought there was a lot of creative play calling. I thought it was a really well played game offensively by New England. They just got gashed. They're not getting pressure on the quarterback. They've got a lot of injuries. Obviously, you could argue the best cornerback in the NFL, is hurt, on their team. It's a tough spot to be in. So, physically they can't hang with this team, but it's, getting this many points at home with a very high quality head coach. And I thought a really good offensive game plan last week that could very well translate into another good game plan this week. It's tough. It's very, very tough to not look at those points and want to be interested in it.
I look at their team, and obviously I know they're going to have guys like Donta Hightower come back and things like that. But I really look at their team, and again, we don't know what to expect out of Damian Harris, Cam Newton. It's really a show me kind of contract. I wouldn't even know where to begin to rebuild this team. I mean, Cam Newton, They obviously don't like Jarrett Stidham if he's still sitting behind Cam Newton. You got Damian Harris, Sonny Michel, James White. We like James White. We like Rex Burkhead. We don't have a guy that can tote the rock 20, 30 times a game. The wide receiver situation is atrocious. I mean, N'Keal Harry's not panning out. And when Jacoby Myers is your go-to guy catching, 9, 10, 12 balls a game, there's a problem there. The offensive line's getting older, and the better ones have moved on. Isaiah Wynn can't stay healthy. That was a first-round pick that kind of hasn't panned out yet. And then, they have Jace Winovich and Josh Uche, which they've Bill Belichick's even said, I really like these guys, but they're only playing 15, 20 defensive snaps a game. What are we doing here? I don't know. McCourty twins are getting older. The running back, the linebackers aren't very good, and they've been talking about shopping Stephon Gilmore. So I don't know. Where do you begin? It sounds like a team that can compete, but I feel like there's a rebuild going here, and I just don't know where to start. So,
offensive line.
Yeah, that's a good in theory, but at the same time, you can't replace all five at once. Although Shaq Mason's pretty decent, and Andrews, but Joe Tooney's getting old. I don't even know who Corey Cunningham is. So, all right, let's kick back. I kind of jumped ahead. Thanks, Vegas Insider, for not putting your games in order here. The LA Chargers traveling to Miami. Miami, the Dolphins, and Tua Tagovailoa is a 1.5-point favorite. The total 48.5 in this spot. Tua played a lot better against Arizona than he did against the LA Rams. We were talking about this last week. I was listening to this on Sports Talk Radio, and they were saying that this is kind of almost an audition for Tua. And so far, I think he's passing.
Yeah, game one was a little shaky for him, getting used to the actual game time and all that. The defense and special teams kind of got him out of like what could have been a tight game and all that, and prevailed from that. Last week, he showed what he can do. He showed these little glimpses of what he could really be in the future with this, especially Miami team. They have some decent weapons, and he can work around with them. So,
yeah, I really wonder. I mean, I don't know. We'll always wonder what if, but put Ryan Fitzpatrick in that spot where he's got to go have a shootout with the Arizona Cardinals. Maybe he doesn't come out as successful as Tua did. I don't know. It's interesting.
It is. It is. It's hard to say. What could have, would have happened. Again, I still am standing strong with feeling they have the wrong quarterback here being played. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to say that you're 2-0, but I remember the Bears and Matt Nagy harping at a press conference on Wednesday when they were 5-1. He said 5-1 4 times in a press conference on a Wednesday. Because reporters were firing questions about issues and things like that. And, reporters can be annoying and the media sort of sucks, but they were really good points. They were actually great questions, and they're questions that are sort of now being answered that they really didn't have a lot of good answers. So, it's nice to say 2-0, but certainly he wasn't a big factor in the previous game before the Arizona game. And then again, credit to him, played really, really well, especially in the second half. Didn't turn the ball over. I thought he made some really good decisions with pulling the ball down and running in certain spots too. So a lot of credit. That's a nice win. But again, to me, it's just 2 games, and I thought in the first game he was, really not very good. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think this is a pretty good spot, though. The Chargers, as you know, I've been pretty well against. I think you got really unlucky, Aaron, with your kind of prediction overall. They've lost so many of these close games. It certainly could have gone either way. There's no question about that. But at this point, they are, I think, who they are now. You lose this many close games in a row, and you can't close out. And I think that's just your identity. We'll see. We'll see what happens. They're saying all the right things out there, a lot of coach speak and players, and, Herbert's trying to stay really positive. I'm just not sure what that feeling is, internally. I think there's going to be a game here, a reckoning, where they get absolutely just destroyed. I don't know if it's going to be this game. Again, I don't have a lot of confidence in Miami, but there's going to be a game at some point, if this keeps happening, where this team is going to get just, as you like to say, boat raced. And I just don't want to miss out. I want to be on it. So we'll see what happens. But, I think it'll be a good game. I think Tua will have another high-quality game here.
It's crazy. I'm looking at the Chargers schedule, and if they can find a way to walk into Miami and beat them, I mean, let's see, 1, 2, as things start trickling their way, I think we look at maybe a 7-9 or 8-8 season. I think they lose to the Bills, and I think they lose to the Chiefs. I think they can beat every other team on. They can beat every other team on their schedule. They can beat every other. If they can walk in and beat Miami, they got the Jets, they got the Patriots, Atlanta. They can walk in and beat the Raiders. They almost did last week. Yeah. And then Denver. I think, let's see, like I said, I don't think they can beat the Bills, and I don't think they can beat the Chiefs. And I don't know, if they have a 7-9 season, that may save Anthony Lynn's job. I don't know.
It might. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, it might.
All right. And the most important game to myself and Tony Johnson is the Minnesota comeback train. It's already pulled out of the station, Tony.
No, it's definitely out of the station. It's well out of the station. Yes, there's no question.
And this is a big one, too. Minnesota versus Chicago. I mean, one of the teams standing in the way of Minnesota winning the division this year. They are 3-point road favorites against that aforementioned Matt Nagy's Chicago Bears, who are now, what you said, 5-1, 5-1, 5-1. Well, they are now 5-4. So they are only really a game and a half ahead of Minnesota. So the train keeps rolling. We can get one step closer to passing the Chicago Bears here in our quest to get that division at plus 185 title. Again, Minnesota 3-point road favorites. The total token is 43 in this one.
This will be an interesting one to watch in prime time. It has a lot of implications for playoffs as well as even the division. I mean, Packers aren't a lock to win this one, but they are sitting pretty in this division.
Pretty.
Yeah. We got Chicago, which has looked pretty bad the last few weeks. We got Minnesota, the opposite side of that. They've looked pretty decent the past few weeks. Granted, I mean, they just played Detroit recently, and Detroit's pure trash. So
7-5 going into Tampa, boys.
The division win. If they win this one, that's 3 division games in a row.
Exactly.
And then they got Dallas, Carolina, and Jacksonville. 7-5 headed down to Tampa on December 13th.
It easily could happen.
I want a cookie if that happens. I tell you what, though, one good thing.
I'll buy you a bunch of cookies if it happens, especially if they win this division.
One potentially positive thing for the Chicago Bears, Tony, Matt Nagy has handed off play calling duties to Bill Lazar.
It was a shocker. I think everyone was really shocked. Even some people in the organization, from what we hear, that they never thought this day would actually come. But yeah, no, I thought that was a big deal. I'm glad you brought that up, Aaron. That was a big deal because to me, if Matt understands that you need to make some changes and things really aren't working, and it's as always, as it should, it falls on you at the end of the day. Even if this is what you're theoretically best at or what you think you're good at. You need to try to, get wins somehow. And if somebody can get a fresh look and a fresh face, on a game plan, I think you should definitely do it. So credit to Matt. I've been very hard on him. I'll admit I have been over the last year plus, but this is a really good move. So yeah, I don't think there's any really drawback to, doing this. It can't really get that much worse, I don't think, in the play calling realm. So yeah, this is really good. It's kind of funny. I've bet 2 games now in my life, the week look ahead lines. The first time I did it was the Jets plus 22 against Kansas City 2 weeks ago. First time in my life I bet a look ahead line, and that didn't work out, but at least we got a good number. Second time ever, Minnesota plus 2.5 last week on Thursday against Chicago. I was like, let's do this because I think you're going to do well against Detroit. And
Chugga. Train
So now,
keeps rolling.
It's just great stuff. So now we're here. I have this weird number of 2.5. I know they're 2.5 3-point favorite now, but that doesn't necessarily we're crossing a zero. Who knows how much that actually matters. It's just kind of fun to have a little a small ticket there. So I thought that was entertaining, but should be a really good game. I'm actually really, really looking forward to this one too. I don't look forward to a ton of Monday night games in regards to their quality, but just like this last Thursday game that we had, which I thought was really high quality, 2 good teams. Despite the fact that Chicago obviously has fallen, pretty hard here the last few weeks, I think it's still a good team. Obviously, it's a good defense. We're watching Minnesota start to rise. I think it's gonna be a great game. Really, really good game on both sides. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Not sure what I'm going to do on this one. This was one I'm going to certainly sit back and watch and hope for. Would love to see that Minnesota ticket cash. But besides that, really, really looking forward to watching this one.
How huge would that be to watch that? Because I actually grabbed 25-1 when we were talking about that.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Now, I'm excited about that one. But, I mean, how big of a relief – what would the feeling be? You have a plus 185 ticket that you pretty much threw away after, like, week 5 or 6. What kind of feeling – what's the word? What's the word to describe that feeling if you end up cashing that ticket? Jubilation?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been in that spot before, so I'm not sure. But yeah, jubilation is yes, at bare minimum, jubilation. It'll be a really, really good time. That's all.
Very exciting, very nice, much success. Well, Minnesota is 3-1 against the spread on the road this year, so things bode well. I will tell you this: I would love to see the biggest curveball in the Monday night matchup where Bill Lazor puts Mitch Trubisky in.
Oh,
how crazy would that be?
That would be fun.
It's like, Matt, you've been doing it wrong here for 4 weeks. So.
He just starts replacing players. That'd be fantastic. Yes.
It's crazy, though. And I know the NFL is so hard to develop sustained success. That's why we celebrate it when it does happen. But, all these offensive guys, Adam Gase, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, now some of them are still having a little success. Matt Nagy, John Gruden, they get these head coaching jobs, and the offense just – it's crazy to look at that. I know that eventually you get figured out, but all these offensive gurus, they just don't sustain success. It's a weird thought.
It's hard to run a team. I think it gets down to really being in charge of the entire enterprise. It's just really, really difficult to do. You're able to focus, on that one task and that one thing before. You didn't have to worry about player personnel issues.
Well, then why do we always go after coordinators for coach? I mean, look at some of the most successful coaches. Bill Belichick, not really a one-track mind kind of guy. John Harbaugh, is a special teams coach. I mean, these are the guys that have sustained success.
Could not agree more with you. Could not agree more with that point. I'm 100% with you. Yep.
It's food for thought. Mm-hmm. So, all right, that wraps up the preview of the Week 10 matchups here in the NFL. It is time for our picks. We unfortunately don't have Spike's picks in time. How convenient.
That sounds like an 0-5 to me.
That's
0. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds like an 0-5 week to me. So since Token has taken over sole possession of first place, he is going to provide his picks first this week.
No, I like it, and hopefully I continue staying in first. Though it's still early, so Okay,
Don't hurt yourself.
Yeah. Well, my Zoom just shot up to full screen. I hit exit and then it stayed on full screen, and I had to minimize it after.
What?
Good story.
Ever.
So
just take your picks.
All right, so I'm gonna start out with Cincinnati plus the 7.5. Even if Big Ben plays, he's not gonna be ready for this. Cincinnati, even if they're down by 2 scores, will find a way to get the garbage backdoor cover. We got over 49.5 Green Bay Jacksonville. I don't think the win's going to be a big issue for either of these offenses. They'll get the ball in the end zone and pretty handily and pretty quick. So I really like that over. We got the Raiders laying 3.5 at home. Really like that pick against even division rival Denver in this one. I can't trust Drew Lock at this point. Seattle, just something about them this week screams a bounce back, even against the Rams. I'll take them plus the 1.5. And then Miami minus the 1.5 against the Chargers. Chargers are pending on the downside. Miami, Tua, it looks sexy right now. Let's see if it continues to keep sexy.
Wow, what a finale from Token there. Hate to back the Token sexy selection here, but I have the same one. I'll lead off with that one. I don't usually get on those sides either. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, I love the trash. I live in the gutter. But Miami minus
nice couch for the gutter there, sir.
It's not bad. Miami minus 1.5 it looks juicy. I'm not going to lie to you. As you know, I'm very anti LA Chargers for the most part here. I'm surprised this number is as low as it is. I think it'll get up to 2.5 by game time. So I'll take Miami minus 1.5 as well. And then going back near the top of the board here, I have a couple of plays actually on the Buffalo game, which is kind of weird. I know we allow that, and maybe it's not necessarily a good idea, but here's what we got. So I got Buffalo plus 2.5. I'm going to be on the opposite side here of Token. I don't know. I think that I like the fact of how well they played finally last week. It seemed like things came together. I know they gave up a lot of yards, but it was just in the second half for the most part. I really think this Buffalo team it could very well be back for real here. And so I'm going to go ahead and take them plus 2.5 on this one against Arizona. And then I'm going to actually be on the under as well. I know I sort of hinted at that when we were talking about it. I think both these defenses are a little bit better than we expect, and especially if Buffalo can get out to lead, which I really do think they can in this game. I do think will be a bit of a lower scoring second half here. So I have Buffalo, Arizona under 56.5. And then the next one, Tampa Bay, Carolina under 50.5. This was the fifth game in. This is more of just kind of a line value number. It does look like there's a lot of 50s out there. I think this might, screech a little bit lower. So just trying to get a little bit of value here. I don't really know what to expect in this game. I'm really hoping that Tampa Bay's defense sort of rallies and gets back together. I know everyone's talking about Tom Brady and having a much better game. I think the defense should have a much better game here as well. So, and if Carolina, again, plays against a realistic team that is not going up and down the field with crazy, big plays, which I know Tampa's capable of. Carolina's pass defense is one of, if not the best in the NFL too. So hopefully they can keep it together. And then last and finally, a game I already bet. I do have Baltimore -7 in the pocket already, but per our rules, got to lay the extra half a point here. So let's just get off a real good number. Who cares? Baltimore -7.5 in a classic boat race. And I know you mentioned that, Aaron. I do think it's a very, very likely scenario here. This game's over by the end of the third quarter. I got Baltimore winning by 3 touchdowns.
Nice. All right. Since I'm bringing up the rear, I'm feeling a 5-0 week here, boys. Get your pens out because
pen is out.
It might be an 0-5 week if you fade me, it could be profitable for you. All right. So I'm taking that biggest spread of the week. I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not quite sure why, because they're walking into a situation where they're 0-10 against the spread lifetime against games under 50 degrees, and it's going to be 38 with sleet. So naturally, I'm just laying it all on the line based on one trend, the biggest spread of the week, Jacksonville plus 13.5. I'm sticking the needle even further in my arm with Denver. I'm taking Denver plus 3.5 here against the Las Vegas Raiders. I think they may actually get an outright win here. Drew Lock may find a pulse here just for half a second. Tony Johnson mentioned that this was the absolute wrong side to be on this week, but I am on San Francisco plus 9.5. Give me Nick Mullins or give me death. And I, too, Tony Johnson, am double dipping here. I am on that LA and Seattle game. I am taking the Rams, pushing it to 2.5. I think they get a win by 10-plus points here in this game. However, I will take the under of 54.5. I think we're looking at something along the lines of 30 to 20, kind of in that game. So that's mine. Jacksonville, Denver, San Francisco plus all their points, LA minus the points, and the under in the LA and Seattle game.
You win the prize for the ugliest card. There's no question about
that.
that.
You got down and dirty with those picks.
I feel incredibly awful about that card. But you know what? I got to mix it up here.
Yeah.
I got to mix it up. I need a 5-0 week, and that's the one. I hate everything about that card, so that's my 5-0 week right there. And I'm thinking 0-5, boys. Spike rocking an O-burger this week.
That's correct.
I think we needed to probably put a bylaw into that in those rules. So we'll have to discuss that with the commissioner of the Vegas Squares.
And he's already seen what we have, too. I mean, this is just,
he's also seen what Tokens had. He's technically in that 2-horse race we've already kind of.
I guess, I really shouldn't worry about myself. That's true. That's a good point. You're right.
There's still 7 weeks after this, and
That's true.
Yeah, I only need to go 30.
A lot of shit can happen. I mean, I'm in the lead. I could easily fall back to the rear, so.
Yeah, that's where you like it. So.
Oh, snap.
All right, Token. It's daily fantasy sports time at DraftKings here, presented by Fanatics.com. Please shop Fanatics using our affiliate link, which is located at LV Squares. Click the sponsors page. Click the Fanatics logo. Please shop using that link because it does support us, and it does not cost you a single dime more to buy everything you need for the holiday season. So, DraftKings, 50K budget, Token. Let's see what you got.
Oh, I used all 50K of it this week.
Let's hope Corey Davis – Corey Davis played Thursday because last week Corey Davis got you an O-burger.
Yeah. So, this week I'm going to start out with A. Rodgers. We got him for $7,900. Good old Aaron. For $7,900. Really like that pick, even though the wind's supposed to be there. He plays well in wind. I mean, the wind don't bother him at all.
Yeah, he's playing Jacksonville.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
He's going to find Adams a bunch of times, and Adams will do the work for him too. So, moving on, running backs, we got Kamara.
Kamara.
Yep. And then we got this one. It's his full name. We got Kareem Hunt. For
Hunt, cunt.
Cunt. We got him for $6,700.
Even with Nick Chubb coming back, huh?
Yeah. What's with that?
Well, Houston's run defense is atrocious.
Okay.
Good thing Kareem catches the ball.
He does, but he can also run on the outside with it too. So, round the outside. We got Marvin Jones Jr. Galladay's out this week. Yep. For $5,200, I saw a little value in that. And then my big dark horse of the week.
Basement dweller.
Wait. Hold on. Is it a wide receiver?
It's a wide receiver, yes.
Christian Kirk.
No.
Oh, okay.
You care to have a pick, Tony?
I don't even know where. Yes. Devontae Parker.
No.
Okay.
Cole Beasley, $4,700.
That is a dweller.
I had the right team. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. That's Buffalo. I'm sorry. I apologize. No. I didn't.
He is Buffalo.
Yeah, I know. Devontae is Miami. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wrong team.
Okay.
Cole Beasley.
And then moving on, we got somebody a little lower value price, but about the same. We got Scantling for Green Bay, $4,400. Because we already got Rodgers, we're going to add Scantling. We got Jared Cook for the Saints for $4,600 at tight end. We got the flex play. We got Claypool for Pittsburgh for $5,800. And then we got the Raiders defense and special teams.
Oh.
They're definitely special enough.
Who wants that one? Wow.
$2,500.
Okay, they should
What's
be low.
worse,
Yeah.
that DFS lineup or my picks for the week? Oh my god.
Probably my DFS lineup.
Oof, that's a tough one this week. Sorry, Token. Oof.
It was not your
Oh,
finest lineup. Just hearing it aloud, I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, it could work
yeah.
out.
Could work out though. It could.
Not a lot of people will be on those kind of players.
That's
and
true. If those
you
guys
gain
come
that.
through, you win. You just
Yeah,
win
for
the
sure.
league. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Fair enough. Yeah, Marvin Jones Jr.
Wow.
is the only option for Stafford or Daniel this week, so fair enough.
And nobody's going to be on Kareem Hunt, I would think, because of the return of Nick Chubb. So that could be something. Isn't that interesting?
There you go. Millionaire maker right there.
Wow.
Or
Yeah.
thank you for your donation.
Yes.
All right, let's round out
Probably
the show
donation.
we round out the show here with the William Hill teaser. I'm going in a different direction here, boys. I'm getting a little cocky with these. I want to kind of test myself.
How many in a row? How many in a row have you won?
I started out 0-2, and now I'm 5-2.
Okay. All right.
So this week I've decided to get a little cocky. You know as well as I know I'm not the greatest with totals. So now to challenge myself, all 4 picks are totals.
Oh, wow.
Probably not the best week to do that.
I'll start with the overs here this week. Tampa Bay and Carolina was 50.5. I'm going to take that over 36.5. Philadelphia and the Giants was 44.5. I'm going to take that over 30.5. I think Philadelphia may get that by themselves. All right, now to the unders. I am going to take the under in the Houston and Cleveland game. That's an under 60. And I am also, the pick that I have with the LA and Seattle, I'm going to move that to an under 68.5. So all totals this week, hoping to go 6-2. I've hit 5 in a row, so let's hope to hit 6 in a row.
That Seattle game is scary. Oh, that's a scary one.
No fear,
record
boys.
picks in this teaser.
No fear, boys. No fear. Another one in
Yeah.
a row here. We're hitting this one too.
Okay.
All right. That's going to wrap it up here for the Week 10 podcast with the Vegas Squares. Hopefully 5-0s out of myself and Tony Johnson. And we've already got an 0-5 in the carts. For Spike, the ghost of Spike, for Token Tony and Tony Johnson, we appreciate you all listening. And check us out, our Facebook page, our Instagram, and our Twitter, Vegas Squares Podcast, and our website, LV Squares. We'll catch you on the next one. Good luck on your bets this weekend.
Uh-huh.